Am I worried when it comes to Polkadot? And no, it's not because of the price, even though I'll get to that later. However, the reason why I even want to ask myself this question and respond to it in a video is because the other day someone showed me a statistic and they said, wow, aren't you concerned? Aren't you worried that Polkadot only has around 2,000 to 2,500 daily active users? That is so embarrassing. They like to tell me that, or they did tell me that, I should say. But in today's video, I'm going to explain why that doesn't actually concern me, and also why seeing the charts go down as of right now is not necessarily alarming for me anyways. Even though I first want to clarify, nothing I say is financial advice, and I am not telling anyone to do anything. This is just my personal opinion and my outlook. So again, I'll talk about Polkadot's daily active users first, then I'll talk about the price later. But besides that, again, seeing around 2,000 to 2,500 daily active users, people sometimes like to tell me, again, that is so alarming, that's so concerning. They say it's just very embarrassing. But in my opinion, I don't really find it that way because arguably one of its focuses, in my opinion, is enterprise adoption. In which case, if people like to tell me, oh, around 2,000 daily active users, that's really bad, it's not really an apples to apples comparison here because they like to oftentimes compare it to a project that is very retail sort of heavy, right? Very based on the retail market. And they say, wow, take a look at just how much daily active users they have. And they compare it to this. But it's a bit of a different comparison. It's like saying how, wow, take a look at how many users Snapchat has, and then we compare it to Amazon Web Services, and then suddenly people say, oh, that means Snapchat is more relevant than Amazon Web Services. Sometimes that's not a fair comparison, of course, right? It's like saying how, oh wow, Toyota sells more cars than Rolls-Royce. That means Rolls-Royce is doing bad. It doesn't make sense saying that, right? Because Rolls-Royce actually isn't doing that bad, in my opinion. You know, it can't really be compared like that. However, even besides that, people oftentimes like to compare that when it comes to Polkadot. So I think sometimes they're not really evaluating kind of how Polkadot is structured to begin with. When we take a look at Polkadot, what is its focus, right? Its focus is on interoperability. It's focused on connecting blockchains together. So it's just, if we take a look at the core principle of Polkadot, it's more so focused on the long term. It's not focused on short term, retail hype where we see just a bunch of random transactions like that, or a bunch of users just doing random things. It's just a little bit different in this case. Not to mention, we see that several of its parachains, like for instance Moonbeam and Aster, a lot of the activity is being concentrated on those parachains when it comes to Polkadot. Now, to just not make it confusing and overly complicated, I'm just going to talk about Moonbeam, right? Moonbeam is one of the most famous Polkadot parachains out there. And if we take a look at Moonbeam, what is its focus? It's basically offering the power of Polkadot while at the same time maintaining the ease of use of Ethereum. Now, let's just link that back into what I mentioned before. That is a very specific use case, in which case developers typically, when they want to care about a project like that, it's typically when the market does do a lot better. Developers don't usually want to enter when the market isn't doing the best. So if we consider how Moonbeam is one of the biggest and most famous parachains out there when it comes to Polkadot, and that's not doing the best, and Aster, as of right now, one of the biggest parachains as well when it comes to Polkadot, that's also not doing the best. Inherently, we see Polkadot also not doing the best. So what, with all that considered, suddenly the daily active users is supposed to look good? No. It's just, given the current conditions, it's just not the best. But here's the thing as well, we have to consider this. Keep in mind, Polkadot, we've seen several upgrades so far, like Polkadot 2.0. We know that Polkadot recently did an aesthetic redesign where they kind of removed pink from their logo and they kind of made it more minimalistic. So if we take a look at, let's say in the case of Polkadot, they have been doing things, and not to mention recently it was announced how it was confirmed that the maximum supply when it comes to DOT, which is Polkadot's native token, was going to be at 2.1 billion. So when it comes to the tokenomics side of things, arguably I would say when it comes to Polkadot, there's been clarification there. Keep in mind, with the Polkadot 2.0 upgrade, there is an aspect of elastic scaling, which inherently makes it better for developers moving forward. So really, if we take a look at Polkadot's fundamentals, its use case, seeing around 2,000 daily active users as of right now is not necessarily concerning to me, especially when I consider how Polkadot consistently oftentimes is ranked top 10 in terms of developer activity. So yes, seeing around 2,000 daily active users may seem embarrassing at first glance, but there's actually a hidden sort of I guess, interpretation that I could take a look at if I were to consider Polkadot in its entirety. I don't only just take a look at the figures, I take a look at what Polkadot is actually trying to achieve and actually what type of project it is. If Polkadot was super focused on just creating random retail hype, then that's a little bit alarming, right? Seeing around 2,000 daily active users. But Polkadot's goal is a little bit different. So this is why this is not such a concerning thing for me. But even besides that point, DOT as of right now is $1.20, which again, people like to say that is really bad, but we have to consider this. When it comes to its all-time low, it is $1.13, in which case we're just 7 cents higher than that. Granted, could Polkadot create a new all-time low? I mean, who knows? I can't control this. But one thing I do know, though, is that I am not averse to the dip. Like, I don't find it to be a negative thing for me because I don't mind, because I am looking to dollar cost average. And since my mindset is years anyways, I feel like in 4 or 5 years or whatever, if I take a look back at right now, I'm not going to be stressing out over a 5% dip years ago. You know what I mean? Because Polkadot has had around a 5% decrease in the past 24 hours. It's like, for instance, in hindsight, people who are still holding Bitcoin as of right now, even though it's down, I highly doubt they're now debating whether or not they got Bitcoin at a certain point or at a whatever point in 2016. That's all now just background noise because it doesn't matter anymore. The time has passed. That's the thing. So what I'm seeing as of right now, since my mindset is years anyways, I don't mind because I like dollar cost averaging, preferably when it's kind of low. Do you know as of right now that we're actually around 8 times lower than December 2024? Around 8 times. Now, if DOT goes back to like $5, suddenly people are going to be like, oh, wow, this is fantastic and all this, hypothetically. But then we have to consider the journey to $5, we're over 3 times lower than $5. We're around 4 times lower than $5 as of right now. So I'm not necessarily going to want to wait for $5. I want to care when it's hypothetically low, but I'm not telling anyone to do anything, which is why I am ultimately still dollar cost averaging once a month. So when I take a look at it overall, my conviction hasn't changed, my dedication hasn't changed. The only thing is that, again, the price charts did change. It is going lower, but again, I don't mind the dip. That's the thing, because I am looking to hypothetically dollar cost average. I like dips when it comes to chicken tenders. I like dips when it comes to French fries, and I also like dips when it comes to the space. That's my mentality. And with Bitcoin having a pullback as of right now, it's not like Polkadot's the only one having a pullback. So that's why I don't mind waiting. And again, if my mindset is yours anyways, what I'm seeing as of right now, it'll just all be background noise eventually moving forward for me anyways. But again, there's something else I can do and just wait. But that's what I'm going to do, even though I don't have to, but I'm voluntarily choosing to wait personally. I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a very nice day. It's Willie the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.